ABP slaughterhouse, where they're murdering and executing cows today. Our first disclaimer is that we are not here to form any, we're not here for any form of intimidation. We're not here for any disruption. We're not here to harass or intimidate anybody. We're here under our legal right to assembly, our freedom of speech. That's why we're here today. Our second disclaimer is that we're not here to clash with any non-vegans and point fingers at you and say you're a bad person. If you're not vegan, we're here to show you the truth. This industry relies on being secret, and today we're going to force that transparency. As you come into the chat, I want you to subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're already vegan. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan, but double tap the live stream. Notice how the CCTV was facing down here, because they're waiting for us to turn up. They're waiting for us to be here. Animals have already been offloaded. That truck's in the washdown area. It absolutely stinks here. Let me throw this your way so you got that. Yeah. This place absolutely reeks. Guys, subscribe. Put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if you are anti-vegan. We're here live outside of a slaughterhouse to bring the public nothing more than the truth. If you want to know any more, please go into the description by putting pressing the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner, going into the link tree on the top, and go and watch Dominion, the first documentary at the top of that list. And then the second documentary is Pignorant. Please go and watch them 2 documentaries. Once you've watched them documentaries, go down to the bottom, and there is a section that says Help to Go Vegan. We've got a lot of triggered people around here already. We've just come down. We're here today, again, not to clash, not to point fingers. We weren't born vegan, but we're here now today highlighting this industry, highlighting the evil, highlighting the injustice, so that other people can also be educated and then make an educated decision to do the right thing. Subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're already vegan. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a kind person. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if being kind to animals triggers you. Please double tap the live stream, and if you can, share on your socials too. Please continue to put 1s, 2s and 3s in the chat so we know and we get a good idea of the mixture in the room. Now today we're here for educational purposes, and we're going to tell you some things and show you some things that the industry rely on you never knowing and never seeing. What we want you to take note of is just how secret this industry is. They have all the CCTV. Why is that CCTV pointing down the road, anticipating activists turning up with their cameras? Why isn't the CCTV pointing inside the facility where normal CCTV goes? Why have they got nets all over the gates so the public can't see in? Why are there spiked fences all the way around the perimeter of this building? Why, when the trucks turn up here, do they take this gate off of the automatic slow system and they put it onto a manual system where the people will push and pull this gate manually, because it can be opened and closed faster, so the general public never gets to even see the animals. I'm going to tell you more about this in a second. Subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a kind person. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if being kind to animals triggers you. Double tap the live stream and please share on your socials.
SHDH, but why don't you protest at McDonald's?
Because McDonald's is where the demand is created, but we're bringing you here to connect you with the actual animals. We could go and protest at McDonald's, absolutely. We could go and protest at supermarkets. We can go and protest anywhere to bring light to what happens to animals, but we choose to come to the slaughterhouse. We come to show you the victims directly, so that the consumers, the public, you're not looking at a burger, you're not looking at a piece of body flesh in a packet, you're not looking at a block of cheese or a glass of milk. You're looking the victim directly in the eye. So when you go to the supermarket next, you don't just see another burger and what the activist said, you see the individual who you're going to see today. Subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to why vegans are live streaming outside of a slaughterhouse. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if being kind to animals triggers you so much that you put meat emojis in there, and double tap the stream, and please share on your socials.
Yeah, we've got a lot of support for the animals. We've got Jessie saying it's so sad. We've got Alice who's back, who's the farmer's daughter. Although, Alice, you're a number 2. Are you not a vegan yet? Let me know why you're not, and we're on 10 likes.
10 likes, right. We need to get the 50 likes before the next truck of animals turn up. We've seen trucks leaving already. There is a truck already in the layerage, in the washdown area here. These trucks have to be routinely washed down after the animals have been dropped off, because animals are having a subjective experience of their life. They're a someone. They literally defecate in fear on the way to a slaughterhouse. You can only imagine what they're gonna face today. Can you even empathize for 1 minute what these animals will face? Bear in mind, I'll tell you after this, subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a kind person and you actually do love animals but you're not vegan yet. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if being kind to animals triggers you, and double tap the stream to like it. Let's get to 50 likes as fast as possible. Now, bear in mind, animals are having a subjective experience, okay? They feel fear. If you come towards an animal with a bat or with a knife, they run away, they try and evade it. So they have these fear receptors, they have emotions just like you do. Imagine today if someone was gonna force you into a room with an individual who you don't know, and they've got wellies on, they've got an apron on, they've got a helmet on and a hairnet on, and then they've got a huge sharp knife in their hand. And out of no reason, for no reason at all, for no fault of your own, nothing you've done, that person is gonna come towards you and they're gonna stab you in the throat and slash your throat open and kill you. This is exactly what's going to happen to the individuals who will be turning up today going through this gate, and this is why we're here to show you the injustice. Subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a kind person. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan, like these people who rev their engines and beat their horns and swear at us just because we're trying to give the public the information that was never intended for your ears to see, your eyes to see, or your ears to hear. The industry is not transparent with the public or the consumers, and this is why we're here today.
So Alice, the farmer of the daughter's farmer, said, I'm a number 2. I'm trying to convince my mum and brother William to become vegan. What would you say to Alice right now?
Oh, so Alice,
thank you
the
for being
first
here,
thing
Alice.
that you need to do, Alice, is you need to be vegan yourself, because at the moment sounds like you're trying to convince your family to have maybe the same ethical position as you, but you want them to put it into action before you do. Maybe if you actually took the stand and you said, you know what, I'm being vegan and my ethics and my actions are going to align, and then I'm going to say to my family, come and sit down and watch Dominion with me. Come and see what actually happens to the animals. Come and see what happens to the animals inside of a slaughterhouse. And then they're going to go vegan with you, and then you can support each other. Subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you are vegan already. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat. Let us know, chat. 2 in the chat if you're a kind person, if you do care, if you love animals, but if you're not vegan yet. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if being kind to cows triggers you, and double tap the stream.
James Cadian put, not vegan, but I understand why people are.
Appreciate the comment, James. Thank you for being here and spending time listening to us in the stream. And you know, if you're someone who understands why vegans are vegan, then that tells me already that you have an empathetic heart and you have the ability to critically think about an issue. My question back to you, James, would be, what's stopping you from aligning ethics and actions? James, are you someone who's against what happens to animals? Are you someone who is against animals being abused, exploited, commodified, and killed for optional products? If you are, then I urge you to be vegan. Subscribe and chat. 1 if you're vegan. Subscribe, chat, and 2 if you're not vegan but you're a kind person. Subscribe, chat, and 3 if you're an anti-vegan. But you've got to double tap the stream. Trucks are coming any minute. This is why I keep looking this way. This is where the trucks are coming, and we need 50 likes on this live stream as fast as possible. We are going to be answering questions as well as telling you information that the industry don't want you to know. I'll tell you one little quick bonus tip here. The industry don't want you to know that dairy cows only produce milk because they're mums. For some reason, we've grown up believing that cows eat grass and produce milk. Or maybe the industry, once you've realized that that's not the case, the industry tell you that, no, we only take a little excess milk. It's a load of rubbish. Cows are exploited, their bodily autonomy is taken from them, their babies are taken from them, and they end up in a slaughterhouse when they can't produce as much milk as the industry want them to. Subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're vegan already and you're no longer responsible for harming animals. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're a kind person, if you have an empathetic heart. But listen, you're not vegan yet because maybe you've not seen or heard anything like what we're showing you today. And subscribe and put 3 in the chat if you are an anti-vegan, if being kind to animals triggers you. You have to subscribe to put comments in the chat, so please subscribe and please double tap the live stream. How many likes have we got now?
Yeah, we've got 16 likes. Let's get to 50 as soon as
let's get these likes
possible.
up, guys. Please, everybody, please double tap the stream.
Where are we?
We are outside of a slaughterhouse right now.
They spotted us now.
Okay, yeah. So they know we're here
us.
now. They know we're here. They put the gate onto the manual just like predicted. So predictable, this slaughterhouse. How much can they hide from the public? They're probably so pissed off with us coming back every single day. But guess what? We're coming back every single day. Every day that you're killing animals here, we will be here to show the world exactly what takes place in facilities like this. We will never rest. If the industry is not resting, we will never rest. Subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're vegan already. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a kind person. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if being kind to animals triggers you. Double tap the live stream and please subscribe. I'm going to swap in with Mel. Mel's going to take over for a little bit.
Yeah, really well done. It absolutely stinks here. It's heartbreaking to stand here at the gates of this evil place, but these places exist because good people are paying their wage, but good people don't know that they're doing this right now. Please subscribe at the top and put 1 in the chat if you are vegan. But subscribe at the top of this live stream, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded, but you're not vegan yet because maybe you don't know the industry because it's hidden from you. And please put number 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap this live stream, like, share and comment. When we get to 50 likes, I'm going to be telling you something that the industry never wants you to know.
Man Black Covered Peak said, what do we eat instead of meat?
Yeah, thank you for your question. You can have anything that doesn't exploit animals. So I still have vegan burgers, vegan pizza, vegan kebabs, vegan ice cream, vegan chocolate. Nothing changed for me when I went vegan, and I was surprised of that. I just felt the liberation that I wasn't harming animals anymore. But I went to Tesco's, I went to the supermarket, and I was like, oh, I can get like vegan sketches. I can get vegan makeup to make sure it says vegan and cruelty-free. Look, security on the gate right now, guys. Security here. Why do they have security at a place like this where they're supposed to be transparent? They pride themselves on transparency, yet they never let anyone see the inside.
This is a new guy. This is a new guy. He's just being told what to do. They're just telling him what to do.
Interesting. Interesting. Good people when they know, but they leave. We've got Matthew Kittle in the live stream right now, who used to work at a slaughterhouse doing the packaging part. He never saw the kill floor. Then he saw Joey Armstrong's investigation. Are you new here? What do you do here? What do you do here? Are you security? You new security?
He's got security
They're
on his
sending
back.
you out here today. That's weird. They've never done that before. Very weird. When good people see what happens on the inside, they go vegan. They don't pay for this. They don't work in these industries. That's why they have such high rate of turnover of staff. Please put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap the live stream, like, share and comment. We are not here hating on you. We're here to show you the truth. That's what we're trying to do. We're not the violent ones. The violent ones are the people inside here cutting animals' throats. They literally kill cows from the dairy industry. Yeah, was there a question?
I was going to say, why do they kill cows in the dairy industry? Why is dairy such a violent industry?
Yeah, so basically cows are mammals just like you and I, so they only produce milk when they give birth to their baby. So what happens is in the dairy industry, they forcibly breed these animals into existence. Okay, then they take her baby away from her. They kidnap her baby. If her baby is a male, they don't produce milk. So they're classed as a waste product. They're sentenced to a slaughterhouse to be killed. Please subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap the live stream, like, share and comment.
What are people going to see here today?
Today you're going to witness animals coming into this evil place to be killed, to be stabbed in the throat. You're going to see trucks from big farms and small holding trailers as well, all getting sentenced to a slaughterhouse where they're going to be hung up and they're going to have their throats slit. They're going to be decapitated today before you go to bed tonight. Please put 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap the live stream, like, share, comment and subscribe.
Jazz and Brad said there would be no cows if we didn't eat them or use them for milk.
There'll be no man-made cows, there'll just be natural cows. Don't forget, these animals are forced into existence to keep up with demand. Once the demand slows down, they won't force these animals into existence. There's 90 billion land animals forced into existence every year. If we didn't force them into existence, we would free up 75% of the world's farmland. So we would have, we'd stop ocean dead zones and things, because animal agriculture is the leading cause of ocean dead zones, deforestation, animal extinction. Please subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap the live stream, like, share and comment. Interesting, we've got a new security guy
I wonder
here
if they're phoning the police.
Potentially. New security often do, until they understand that we're not here to cause alarm, harassment or distress. We're here to exercise our public right to assembly on public land, to film the animals as they go into this evil place, to document in real time. Please ask questions in this live stream. How many likes have we got now?
We're at 38 likes. We've got 560 in the room. But we need the 50 likes before 1:15.
Yeah, let's get as many likes as possible. When we get to 50 likes, I'm going to be telling you something that you don't know happens in this industry that is hidden from you. Did you know pigs at 6 months old are forced into CO2 gas chambers all around the world? Here in the UK, Right now, they're screaming for their lives inside gas chambers. Now, it's not your fault that you don't know this. It's not your fault that these industries hide this from you. They're deceitful by design. They don't want you to know. Please subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe at the top, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap this live stream, like, share, comment. Nothing changes for you when you go vegan. It seems like a big deal, right? It seems like once you see the injustice and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to go vegan now. You're like, I don't know what to do. It's actually really easy. Just the next things you buy, make sure they're vegan.
Over 50 likes now, and Deo put a comment here saying, why do you keep saying babies are born vegans? Babies feed off the nutrients from their mother's food and then they live off of milk.
Yeah, so babies should only be having the breast milk from their mother for themselves. They shouldn't be breastfeeding from another species. Every human gets all their nutrients from plants, not from animals. We don't need animals to survive. And why should you take away and kill someone else's baby so you can feed the breast milk intended for that baby and feed that to humans? Please subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. So we're at 50 likes. I'm now going to tell you something that the industry hides from you. Hardly anybody knows that this happens. I'm going to tell you how they breed sheep for the wool industry and the meat industry into existence. What they do is they basically, before they impregnate these sheep, that they force, by the way, they don't feed them for 24 hours. They have to make sure that they have no fluids or no food in their system for 24 hours. They starve them and dehydrate them. Then what they do is they stick something inside of them, they call it a sponge, to force them into heat so that they then can make babies, basically. They force that to happen. Then what they do is they take that sheep, they pull them upside down, their head is at the bottom, they trap their legs in, they tie their front legs down, they tie their back legs down, and what they do, but I'll tell you in 1 second, just please subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan, subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet, subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan, double tap this live stream, keep like, sharing and commenting. What they do, when she is trapped down, they have this big, needle thing that is quite thick. They grab her area here and they stab her, okay? They then put a tube in with a camera so they can see inside of her. The other side they grab and they do the same thing the other side. While she's restrained, no anesthetic, no painkiller, she's conscious. They then get the semen from the rams and they inject that into her whilst the camera's in her, moving her around to make her pregnant. That's how they make sheep pregnant. They call that artificial insemination because they don't want to tell you the truth. Did you know that happens? For wool, for lamb, for mutton. Please subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat. If you are anti-vegan, double tap the live stream, like, share, comment. We are not here to rage bait. We're not here to hate on you. We're here purely for our right to assembly, to show you the reality of what happens to these dear animals going inside this place. This place, they kill cows from the dairy industry. Did you know they also call the grape, without the G, they also call that artificial insemination. They cover up the actual immoral acts on animals with these words like artificial insemination. What they do to the cows, I'll tell you in just 1 second. Please subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe at the top of the live stream, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you're not vegan yet. Subscribe at the top, put 3 in the chat. If you're anti-vegan, double tap the live stream, like, share, comment. Please ask questions. What they do is they force her into a cattle crush. That's basically, imagine this is like metal and the other side's metal and her head goes on a thing here that she can't escape. The farmer has access to her back end. He puts his arm inside of her and he injects her with bull semen, puts a metal rod inside of her and makes her pregnant. Okay, you can imagine how they got the semen from the bull. Yes, it's exactly what you think happened. Please subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet. And subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, absolutely. God, it's got a big whiff of that.
Stinks, horrible.
Guys, we're here live outside of a slaughterhouse today. Our disclaimers that we've come across in the beginning of the live stream, if you didn't come across them, we're going to say them again now. Our first disclaimer is that we're not here to cause alarm, harassment or distress or any form of intimidation. People beeping their horns and swearing at us. So triggered. Can you believe that people are so triggered when people are trying to be kind to animals? Our second disclaimer today is that we're not here to clash with non-vegans. If you're non-vegan, we're not here pointing our fingers at you. We're not here saying you're a bad person and I'm better than you. We're here saying, listen, did you know all the facts? Did you know all of the things that the industry don't want you to know? And once we tell you them, once you see them with your own eyes, you can then make an educated decision. Now, I'm not saying that when everyone hears what happens to animals, they're a good person and they go vegan. But when people hear and see what happens to animals, they're absolutely shocked and appalled. And their anger towards vegans goes towards the industry, because all of a sudden, kind people have realized that they've literally paid for animals to have pregnancies forced on them and babies to be kidnapped from them whilst they're being executed. This is every single industry. Every single animal is forced pregnant. Every single baby is taken away. Imagine that if you did that to human women. Subscribe and press 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe and press 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a kind person and you're wondering why vegans are live streaming outside of a slaughterhouse. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if you are triggered by people saying let's be kind to animals. Double tap the live stream. Please share on all of your socials. Could you imagine if we took every industry that happens to animals and we did it to humans? Imagine if we forced females, women to be pregnant, took their babies away, killed the males and milked them, stole their breast milk, and then when they couldn't produce enough breast milk, we sent them to slaughterhouses. Imagine if males born were chucked inside of a big blender. That's what happens in the egg industry. The chickens who are exploited for their eggs, if they're male chicks born, the little yellow chicks that come out of the shells, if they're born male, by the way, they're a waste product in the egg industry. They get thrown into a blender. If you don't believe what we're saying, or if what we're saying seems a bit shocking to you, then please go into the link tree. Top 3 dots in the top right hand corner. Click on the link tree link, go to the Dominion link and watch Dominion and see the truth for yourself. Again, how triggered are these people? I nearly read the business out then just to shame the business, but you know what? We're bigger than that. We're not here for morons like that. We're here for the animals. Our disclaimers, like we said, we're not here to cause alarm, harassment, distress, or any form of intimidation. We're here not to point fingers and clash on non-vegans and say we're better than you. We're here to come alongside you and say, did you know these facts? Because when good people know the facts, they don't continue to pay for it to happen. Double tap these live streams. Let's get the likes way above. What are we on now, likes-wise?
We are on 64 likes right now.
Let's get 100 likes before 1:30, before the next truck's coming in. We're live outside of a slaughterhouse right now, bringing you the truth and the reality that this industry tries so hard. They try so hard to keep from you. You wouldn't honestly believe it.
Charlie just put, well, we need meat, so maybe explain what veganism actually is.
Yeah, so a lot of people think that we need meat, and this is a genuine thing, because from a young age you're indoctrinated to believe that animal farmers are kind to animals and animal farmers are good people, which they're not. You're then indoctrinated to believe that you need meat for protein and you need cow's milk for calcium, and these are true beliefs, and the trouble is your mum and dad think that, or like your guardians think that, their guardians think that, and this information is passed down. So all the people who you look to rely on in life, like your parents and your grandparents, they're telling you this information, so you never have reason to critically think about it or challenge it. But this information has been passed down for a reason, because it's part of the biggest marketing strategy that any business has ever managed to pull off. And these industries have managed to pull off the fact that you need it. They make you believe that you need it. The fact is, your body needs nutrients, and you can get every single nutrient that your body needs through a plant-based source. Therefore, why are you choosing an option that causes so much exploitation and violence when you don't need to? Subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan, but you're wondering why vegans are live streaming outside of a slaughterhouse where animals are being killed. And subscribe and put 3 in the chat if being kind to animals triggers you so much that you get upset and you're a crybaby troll. Please double tap the stream and share on your socials so the animals are seen. We're here with that sole purpose.
MK Danny put, what are you on about? The egg industry doesn't kill chicks because the hens aren't fertile.
Yeah, no, again, this is another thing that the industry don't tell you. I keep looking this way, by the way, because this is where the truck's going to come from. Thank you for the point about bringing the egg industry up into this. Now, the chickens who are exploited for eggs and the chickens who are exploited for meat, they're 2 different chickens, the same as the dairy industry. Dairy industry exploit cows for breast milk and they exploit cows for meat. Now, in the egg industry, let me just tell you the egg industry in a little short snap. But first of all, while I'm doing it, I need to know the demographic of the room. So please make sure you've subscribed to chat. Subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're already vegan. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you consider yourself a kind person. Subscribe subscribe and put 3 in the chat if you are anti-vegan or you get upset when people say be kind to chickens, and double tap the live stream. Let me give you the egg industry in short snippets. Parent breeder shed, load of male and female chickens inside there making fertile eggs. The males often kill the females. When fertile eggs are taken away, they get taken to a hatchery. When their eggs are hatched, they get sexed male and female. Now, the males in the egg industry don't produce eggs, same as the males in the dairy industry don't produce milk. They haven't got the female reproductive system. So because they're male in the chicken egg industry, they're deemed a waste product. Now, there are different breed of chicken. The chickens who you eat, they're grown into the size of an adult within 42 days. These chickens in the egg industry aren't going to get that big, so they're not used or exploited for meat. They're put in a blender on the first day of their life. Double tap this live stream for more. Please subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded as to why we're here. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you're an anti-vegan troll and being kind to animals upsets you. And once them eggs are no longer produced at a rate the industry deemed profitable, then them chickens, them egg-laying chickens, will be sent to a gas chamber. That's right, a gas chamber here in the UK and worldwide. They're killed in gas chambers at around 18 months old. And then the new batch of females come in who are exploited for more and more eggs. By the way, the industry that I'm explaining right now is the same for free range, organic, and all the other marketing labels that we're indoctrinated to believe. It's all an absolute lie to keep the consumer from ever critically thinking about it or challenging this system.
Joseph put, have you ever eaten meat in your life?
Yeah, I wasn't born vegan because I was born up with the same indoctrination and conditioning that everyone else was. You know, I was told that you need to have calcium from cow's milk, you need to have protein from animals' bodies. And then I watched Joey Carbstrong on YouTube. Go and subscribe to Joey Carbstrong, by the way. And I saw a video of him talking to someone about the dairy industry, and I couldn't argue with a thing that he was saying. I then saw a dairy cow inside of a slaughterhouse being killed, and all of a sudden it hit me and Mel at the same time. We were responsible for why she was in there. I never wanted to be responsible for an animal being exploited again, so I simply went vegan. Subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you've done the same. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to it and you're a kind person. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if being kind to animals triggers you.
Levi Avery put steroids, man. I know you'll find that a compliment.
Yeah, that is a massive compliment. Actually, no, I don't use steroids. Steroids aren't vegan, they test on animals. I wouldn't be part of any system that exploits animals. I just get my protein in. In fact, I don't really fuss too much about it. I just eat my normal daily calories. I eat just normal food. I get the vegan burgers, the vegan chicken, I get the vegan hot dogs. I just get the vegan pizza, get the vegan option, super easy. You get your protein without even thinking about it as a vegan. Subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you've already done the same and you're already vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to why we're here. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you are anti-vegan, and double tap the stream. Please share on your socials. We're outside of a slaughterhouse right now. We're live. It is 1 on the 28th of July. We're here outside of an ABP slaughterhouse. This slaughterhouse specifically executes and murders dairy cows and cows from the meat industry.
Yeah, vegan cows just put Popeye was vegan. We didn't even realise that when we were younger.
Yeah, there you go. See, Popeye, spinach, vegan. In fact, tofu has got all chains of amino acids in it. Tofu is a superfood for protein. But this brings me on to a good point. So thank you for whoever put that comment in there, because when you look at why you should be vegan, right? You shouldn't be vegan because it's healthier. You shouldn't be vegan because it's better for the environment. You shouldn't be vegan because you prefer the taste of vegan food. The reason why you should be vegan is because you're against the exploitation and use of animals. It's as simple as that. This is your why. When you realize why, then all the hows, how do I get protein? How do I get taste? How do I navigate social situations? How do I navigate Christmas or cultural situations? The hows come after, but the hows are really, 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 really easy to answer when you're focused on the why. And the reason why is because you no longer want to be personally responsible for animals being exploited. Subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're a kind person and you're wondering why vegans are outside of a slaughterhouse live streaming, but you're not vegan yet. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if being kind to animals upsets you, and double tap the stream.
Yeah, we've got 73 likes. Let's get to 100 likes
100
as soon
likes.
as possible. Trucks will be coming here. Where are we? What's happening? Why is there someone staring at us on the gate?
Yeah, we're outside of a slaughterhouse right now. This guy is a new security guard. I haven't seen him before. So he's here running this gate manually. This gate usually is on a push button system. They turn up here, they press that button there, and then this gate just opens electronically and then closes electronically, but it's slow. Now, because the industry want to hide the truth from you so much, they turn that system off, they put it on a manual system, and they make this security guard come and stand here and physically push and pull the gate shut. Now, you notice here today, when any non-animal trucks turn up, it will take about 5 minutes for them to get the truck inside. But when an animal truck turns up, this guy will already be pushing the gate open so the trucks can turn in and pull straight into the slaughterhouse, and then they pull the gate over really, really fast. Now, why do they do that? I'll tell you why after you tell me why. If you are vegan, subscribe and put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a kind person. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if you are anti-vegan. In fact, I'll let Mel tell you why they run the gate manually.
Yeah. So they always run the gate manually. Whenever we turn up, they try and spot us as soon as possible. That's why we've got the cameras on us right here. That's why there's security here. They've got this gate here because they try and hide the truth from you. They try and hide the reality. What we're trying to do is stand here and film the trucks going in with the victims on, going into this place. They are so afraid of a camera that they hire extra security. They're here watching us the whole time. They're watching our live stream. They literally are so afraid of a camera. Why? If this is a business that is ethical and fine, they would be asking us to come in for a tour and to advertise their business. But no, they want us to go. They don't want us to be here. In fact, many times they call the police on us. Anytime there's usually a new security, we get the police called on us all the time until they know that we realise we're here to our right to assembly. We legally are allowed to do this, and we will do this, and we'll continue to do this until animals have liberation and they're no longer oppressed by humans. Please subscribe at the top, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe, put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you're not vegan yet. Subscribe at the top and put 3 in the chat. If you are anti-vegan, double tap the live stream, like, share and comment. We are not here to hate on you. We're here just to defend animals. Behind me, there is a truck, a blue truck in the washdown area. Okay, that truck had animals on this morning who got taken from the slave farm to a slaughterhouse to be killed, to be stabbed in the throat. A life of misery, a life of horrific forceful impregnation, a life of witnessing their babies kidnapped from them, a life of crying, a life of terror, a life of fear and darkness and horror. Then they get put onto the truck where they're crammed in, by the way. They're always like crammed in, they can't even hardly move around in this hot weather, boiling hot, and then they get taken to this place, onto the kill floor, to be hung up and stabbed in the throat, and they'll bleed and die from the blood dripping out of their neck today. Please subscribe, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you're not vegan yet. Subscribe, put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. What you're looking at here is inside a slaughterhouse. This is what you will see. You can see the truck there being washed down right now. Cows can smell up to 5 miles away. Their senses are so much better than ours. They can smell the fear, the guts. They can hear the screams of the other cows inside this evil place. And that's why they have to wash these trucks down, because they go into something called fight and flight mode. Basically then autonomic nervous system sets in, which makes them defecate, wee and poo everywhere, because they need to make their basically, it makes your body lighter so you can evade danger faster. They don't get to evade danger. Even if they try and escape, which they do, there's a cattle grid just beyond this gate here where they'll break their legs and get dragged back onto the kill floor to be stabbed in the throat. 20% of cows that go to slaughter are still pregnant when they go in there. Please subscribe at the top, put 1 in the chat if you're vegan. Subscribe and put 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you're not vegan yet. Subscribe and put 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. When we get to 100 likes, I'll be telling you something.
Orbs, but hey guys, it's me again. I've been trying to adopt a vegan diet and you helped me to do it, so thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming here and letting us know that. Thank you so much for having a heart for the animals. When good people see, they change. It's the light and the good people in the world that make any injustice abandoned. That's why we don't have, well, it's not legalized to have human slaves anymore, and women have rights now, because it takes a small group of people to stand up for what is right. Did you know when women were fighting to get rights, men were saying, nah, they shouldn't have rights, they're not women, they're not like us, they're different to us, they're only girls, they're only women, they shouldn't have the same rights as us. Now you'd be like, what the hell, of course we're equal.
Kathy Skywalker, thank you for being a member for 17 months.
Well, Kathy,
Vegan
thank
Forever
you.
From Kathy Skywalker.
Epic, and thank you so much for the support, as always, to every activist in this live chat. Thank you so much. We have ex-slaughterhouse workers in this chat right now. We have ex-non-vegans in this chat. I'm an ex-non-vegan. I once was born into the world loving animals and the world conditioned me, okay, which then made me non-vegan. I then saw what happened.